Hey everyone, it's the Angry Honey Badger, and today we are taking a look at another champion build video. I am playing as Zed in the mid lane. I've played him in a few places, and I actually like him the most in the mid lane. I like to play him there like how people like to usually play Talon in the mid lane. He does a really good job at bursting down AP casters, and since they don't have much armor at the beginning of games, or just really at all, you can typically burst them down fairly well. You do need to poke at them a little bit, and there's a few ways we can do this, but we're going to go ahead and talk about what I like to do when I'm playing Zed, and what I like to build on him, and all of that good stuff. So, at level 1, I do typically take boots and pots. It's kind of your safe bet to mid-laning with him, and that's just going to be what I'm going to go with to have a little bit more mobility and have those pots so I can heal up if I need those. At level 1, I do typically take his Razor Shuriken, which is his Q ability. That's going to help you poke at the enemy champion, give you a little bit of range early on in case you need to just poke and deal some damage that way. So I usually take that at level 1, and I usually max that out completely second. I'm not going to max that out first unless I'm getting, unless I'm not close enough to do a lot of damage to them, and I'm going to only be able to poke at them because they're dealing a lot of damage back. Then I'll max it first to be able to deal that extra damage poke-wise. But if I'm doing fine with how I'm normally playing, then I'm going to be maxing that out second. Just kind of poke on her a little bit here in mid lane. Keep kind of bursting her down a little bit. I keep setting out my Living Shadow, which I do take at level 2. That's going to make that double of me, which that I can switch and jump to when I reactivate that ability again. I can also throw Razor Shurikens from both targets, as I just did there. And then I used my ultimate there to move in and hit her one time with a Shadow Slash. So, kind of just used a combination of all of my moves there. We're going to talk about more of this too as the game goes on. We'll see more of this in action. As for my first trip back, I typically try to buy a pickaxe, and I am picking up a little bit of magic resist because she's going to be dealing some more of that magic damage to me. I will be building that into my boots, which will be Merc Treads to help me with tenacity-wise and giving me a little bit of magic resist. So that's what I'm going to be going for with boots. As for that pickaxe, I will be building that towards my first item, and picking up that pickaxe is going to help me early on to deal some more extra damage now while I'm in lane. Now here I'm going to go top lane because Hoyt's getting in a fight up here as Vladimir. He just killed Twitch, but he barely died to Jace. Now I'm going to move in here, and unfortunately I do miss one of my abilities. I used my ult to come in here, and unfortunately right there I missed my Razor Shuriken. It just didn't go off in time. And unfortunately the tower's going to get one extra hit in on me, and that's going to kill me. So kind of unfortunate that I died there to the tower. Normally I probably would have got away from that just fine, but I did pick up the kill though, so that will help me out. I'm going to be back at base now, so I will finish off my Merc Tread boots, so I will be able to kind of resist some damage now in mid and have that extra movement speed and that bonus tenacity, which is always a good thing to have. So, like I was saying though, I do usually pick up that pickaxe as my first little bit of damage that I can pick up, because I'm going to be hurting Lux a lot more now if she's not trying to counter me in any way, which she is currently not, so she's going to be taking a lot of damage when I'm able to hit her with my abilities. Like I was saying, I do take Living Shadow at level 2, and that creates a double of you essentially. You can throw then both Razor Shurikens out from it. I'll probably do it again here. I did, but I kind of missed I think one of them. If you do hit with both of them, you do get a refresh of, I think, a little bit of energy, and that's going to definitely be helpful. He doesn't use too much, but if you do blow everything, you will go through your energy pretty quick, but you can pretty much poke with your Razor Shurikens all the time. And then as I was saying, at level 3 I do take my E ability, which is his Shadow Slash, and that is typically the first thing I will max out if I am doing lots of damage to them. So that is just kind of how I like to go with that. There I actually walked into a Lux laser for a second. Now here I'm going to use my Living Shadow to jump through this wall. I'm going to move it across the way, jump over to it, and try to come over here and help them with this Leona, as she's fairly tanky and hurting our team. I'm going to move in here and do some damage to Lux, even though I don't have the most amount of life, but we're going to basically scare her away and retreat. So kind of a decent engagement, but you can see how you can use your Living Shadow to go through walls. I did that a few times this game. It's helpful for getting away if you need to use it that way. It's also great for just coming into a fight when kind of out of nowhere without using flash, or if your flash isn't up. So that's another thing you can think about when doing that. Last time I was back at base, I did pick up a Vampiric Scepter. That's going to definitely help me out with some sustain while I am in lane by having a little bit of lifesteal. I'm going to go pick up Red Buff from my jungler because he said I could have it. And then I also did pick up a little bit of crit chance. If you can't tell what I'm building towards, I actually am building towards an Infinity Edge. I'm trying to go with a lot of damage and a lot of crit chance early on. Now, what I like to do when I am playing Zed is I kind of like to play him like how most people play Talon. They go with a lot of damage, and they use him as a really bursty assassin. He's not really a tanky bruiser, and he doesn't really live super well in team fights, but he's going to do lots of damage to single targets, or to a few targets, since he does have some decent AoE damage. You're going to do some decent damage really fast and take out high priority targets, so kind of treating Zed as a full-on assassin and building him really bursty. But like I said, he's not going to have the greatest survivability. We will address some of this in a little bit or later on in the build after we get a few core items, but for the most part, he's not going to be tanky in any means with this build. So you might need to change your build if you want to go situational right away. I will get to that after I finish off my Infinity Edge in case you need to deal with it in a different way if the enemy team is really tanky or they're just doing too much damage and you need more health. I will say right now, if you do go top lane with him, which I have played him up there, he's fine up there. He usually just, you know, he gets hurt a little bit because most of the people up there are a little bit more bruiser than he is. So they do lots of damage and they're able to burst him down. Here we're going to get into a little bit of a fight. Unfortunately, we're not backing up and Moo is going to come grab in. I'm going to try to jump in here real quick if I can with my ultimate and try to burst down this Lux. I'm able to do so very quickly. I'm going to try to move back out here, and we're going to try to catch up to this Leona. She is going to, I think, flash through this wall after taking damage, and I'm just going to be able to poke her real quick and kill her. Pretty easy pickup there. I'm on a rampage now, which is kind of nice, and I think Amumu's going to go kill the Elise. Yep. And that's going to be good for that. I got lots of gold too right now. I'm going to push this tower and try to get it down, and then I think I will go ahead and head back to base to pick up that Infinity Edge, which I have, and now I can head back to mid lane. Got about 199 damage. Is that what that says? I don't think that's right. Maybe that's right. Not really seeing that correctly. Anyways, so like I was saying though, this is pretty bursty. So if you are doing good, Shadow Slash max out first. If you are just needing more poke, then your Razor Shurikens first. I don't know if Living Shadow isn't completely working perfectly on him, but it says it gives you bonus attack damage over a certain amount. It's not really stacking correctly whenever I max it out, so I've kind of been avoiding it a little bit. Although if you would want to start to max that out sooner, it would be to get a little bit more cooldown reduction on it, so it's up a little bit sooner. Here we're getting into a little bit of a fight. Moon gets good ultimate off. I'm going to move in here and try to get to their Elise pretty quick. I am going to be able to pick up the kill on her. I am taking this tower a little bit, and I am going to die to the Twitch. I am going to get shut down by his poison and his Blighted Quiver, I think that's called. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But that's what I'm going to do there. I'm going to die, unfortunately, but I do pick up a kill. So we're doing alright so far. Going to be back at base right now, and am I going to pick up anything? Yes, I am. I'm going to pick up a little bit of a Ruby Crystal, and this will be going towards my next item. Now, here at this point in the game, if you're taking tons of damage, and you want to be a little bit tankier than how I'm going to build him, you can start to build this, which I am building it into a phage. If you want to build that phage into a frozen mallet, that's not a bad idea. It will give you more health that way and that good slow. What I'm going to actually be doing with this Ruby Crystal is building it into a phage and building it into a Trinity Force. The Trinity Force is going to be great because of the sheen. It's going to definitely help me with that extra damage. It's going to help me with some move speed, a little bit more crit chance, a little attack speed. As we know, the sheen's that all-around great item. So I'm going to be building a Trinity Force next, which will give me some health, as I was saying. Another thing I will say, if you're top lane and you're having some issues with damage, or you're not being able to poke as much, or you're just kind of getting pushed back a little bit, I'd say early on, build a Heart of Gold. This is going to be very helpful for you to get a little bit of extra life and to get some gold over time that way. So if you need to pick up one of those early on, I would highly recommend it. It wouldn't be a bad item on him at all. Here we're going to move over. I'm going to use my Living Shadow to jump across this wall. Unfortunately, she's over there. I'm going to just, use my ultimate to slide across. Graves did pick up that kill, but that would have been a good way to burst her back down by using my ultimate over to get to her. So you can kind of slide back and forth through walls pretty quick. You do have some good mobility, and you do have some good trickery. I'm not using a lot of trickery in this game because I don't need to, but it is very helpful to use some of that stuff. Here I'm chasing Jace. He barely gets away. But that is going to happen. But you're pretty good at chasing with some of your abilities. You are good at avoiding some of their stuff with your abilities. You can use Living Shadow. Like when I was getting hit by Lux and getting binded by her, I would use my Living Shadow to kind of hop away, which was a good way to avoid some of her damage because she wasn't quite sure where to throw her orb. So You can be kind of tricky with some of your things. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but nonetheless, it is going to be very helpful. As you can see, that last time I was back at base, I did pick up that phage, and I did pick up a little bit more attack speed, which will be the zeal part of my Trinity Force, which I am building. We're going to try to see if we can get into a little bit of engagement here. There's Leona, actually, as we get vision on her as Vladimir moves around. Amuumu's going to come in here with a blind tongue, grab her nice and quick. Going to move over here, pick up or do a shadow slash, and then I'm going to use my ultimate to get to her just so we can finish her off real quick. And yeah, you know, just you'll figure him out a little bit as you play him, but you can kind of judge when you need to use your ultimate and when you don't. It's great for closing the gap on somebody and doing a lot of damage quick, because you can death mark over to them, you can shadow slash and then shuriken, and then you can living shadow to keep chasing them. So there's kind of a cool combination. Don't forget too, you can reactivate your ultimate and move to directly behind them if they're still standing still with your shadow from your death mark. So that's something to consider. Now, as for my masteries page that I do typically go with when I am playing him, I usually do go with the 2190, or if you're going for the extreme damage page, you go with the 2730. It's a little bit different, but it's similar. Here, Hoyt's kind of getting caught up with Leona. I'm going to move in here, do a lot of damage to her pretty quick, use my ultimate to get in here, and do a little bit of extra damage. I am going to pick up the kill on her. Unfortunately, I'm going to take this tower and find a few of them, and I will die, but I did pick up the kill on Leona. And I believe Hoyt was able to get away from that engagement. So, did pick up another kill. Most of my deaths this game seem to be to towers, or at least taking most tower hits while I'm dying. So, yeah, that's something to maybe pay attention to. Try not to get stuck under towers. Other than that, I am still building towards that Trinity Force. I did have that Zeal, and now I have that Amplifying Tome, which will be part of my Sheen. I'm going to be picking that up and then finishing off that Trinity Force. As for the rune page that I do like to take with him, I think this game I did have attack damage marks, but I do like armor penetration marks on him, armor seals, magic resist per level glyphs, and attack damage quintessences, or if you want to be a really mobile assassin, you can go with movement speed quintessences. Here, Amuumu's is going to come in and engage, and just do a little bit of damage to that Lux. I'm trying to avoid that stupid Elise Spider, which does do a little bit of damage there. I do get stunned by her, too. Jace is going to move out here. I use my Living Shadow, and then I use my Slash. I'm going to move over to him. And now I'm going to move in here. Unfortunately, I think, going to start tanking this tower after I do get in a fight with a few of them. I'm going to have to back out of here so I don't take too much damage. I do move back in, though, and secure a kill right there. Because they told me to. I'm playing with all friends, so KSing isn't really a problem when you're playing with friends. And as I like to say, let's just kill everyone so we win. So, trying to finish off that Trinity Force. I'm very, very close. I could go finish it off basically in a second after I kill a couple minions, but I'm going to wait for that in a little bit and keep pushing with the team. This game's going to come to an end in a little bit. They are going to surrender. Most of my games I've been playing with Zed always end in surrender. He does a very good job at making their AP mid just not do a good job at farming, and you are able to burst them down, so they do not get as fed as they typically would against other AP mids. So that's something to consider. I could go finish off that Trinity Force now. I'll go ahead and cover the other items I typically do pick up when I am playing as him. Like I was saying, if you didn't want to go with Trinity Force and you wanted to go with the Frozen Mallet, that is a decent idea. You can do that. It will work. The next item that I typically will pick up is the Hex Drinker, which is going to help you out with a little bit more magic resist and that shield that procs after you do take that AP damage over time. Here I'm going to try to move in. I'm going to pick up the kill on Leona with that Ignite. But like I was saying, going back to the build so I can finish off some of those items, at this point you're doing a lot of damage and you could use a little bit more survivability, so to actually start to build a Guardian Angel. It's a little soon in some cases, but it's going to be very, very helpful. Another item you could do right before your Guardian Angel, which if you can't tell, I do have that Vampiric Scepter still sitting there. You could pick up your Bloodthirster too if you wanted to before your Guardian Angel. That's another smart move too. So either your Bloodthirster or your Guardian Angel next, and then you can finish off that Hexy Drinker into that Mob Malmortius, which in fact is going to give you more damage and help you with the magic resist. But they're going to go ahead and surrender, guys. That's going to be a decent Zed build to help you guys out. If you have any questions, put those in the comments below. But other than that, I'll just see all of you in the next build video.